Hi. uh, so, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm
How's
good.
everyone, by the way? How's your day been? Yeah, good. Uh, uh, so, yeah, welcome to our talks. My name's Ed, and this is Remi. And yeah, today we're going to talk about the problem with perfection. uh, so there's a lot of things about perfection. One, it's not real. It's never attainable, I don't think. But I'm skipping ahead of myself. Uh, yeah, this talk is to aim to try and inspire you to get past perfection, because that perfection, like I said, isn't attainable. So why do we go for perfection, and how do we turn it into a positive? So just a quick introduction who I am and what LED do. LED is a community interest company for building a creative community in Ipswich. Our main aim is to network. I run the Ipswich Creatives Meetup every month, where we have a lot of people from loads of different disciplines, whether you're artist, writer, director, filmmaker, musician. We all meet up, we try to know what we are all doing and try to find ways of collaboration and get to know each other better. I also want to promote those who need promoting, those who are just starting up and want better exposure in our little community. Hopefully by promoting and making people more well known, that this community can grow and get bigger. We also advocate, we try to help the next generation of creatives to get them into being a professional industry. Doesn't matter what discipline you are, you can be a craft maker, you can be a design student. Once you come to us and get to know the professionals that we know, hopefully that can help you along your own career. Who is Remi Morrison?
So I am, Remi Morrison, director and producer of Red Cactus Media. I'm also the founder. So I do a lot of work with brands and organizations, especially in tech and health and wellness, because that's a big interest of mine. Because I don't know, I think tech is the future, and health and wellness, I like promoting good causes to make everybody feel better. Things I've done in the past, I do a lot of, I used to work in music PR, so I do a lot of stuff with Groove Armada, Kelly Rowland, and also work for Global Radio and Fox Channel. And probably one of my claims to fame is, whilst Breaking Bad was big in this country, that's partly because of me doing the PR. Boom. So no, but that's my one thing I'm proud of. I'm like, yes, I helped the world in the UK watch Breaking Bad. But apart from that, I just do videos and have fun. And what else do I do?
Music videos.
Yeah, I do music videos, and I do, music videos, corporate videos, and also do video strategy. A lot of the things I do is, because of my marketing background, I do help, I film stuff and then I help people get it seen, because a lot of video companies just go, there's your video, good luck. But I think because of my background, I'm really good at making noise about stuff. So I actually help brands say, think about their video strategy, because it's slightly different than just sending out a press release. Because some people just think, just stick it on your website, and I'm like, how many visitors do you have and things like that. So it's kind of just getting those juices flowing so businesses actually can have a video content strategy. And that's kind of, an insight to what I do, really. So, yeah. So this is the moment I should have showed you a video. See, that's what I said. I was like, and this is what I do. They always say show, don't tell. And I'm like, I've just told you I do videos. You're like, I don't know, it's kidding.
But, so is perfection attainable? I already said it isn't, but what are your opinions?
It's subjective. Yes and no. No, I don't think it is personally, because I think perfection is in the eye of the beholder. And personally, As a personal thing, I don't think it is, because I always kind of go to a, am I happy with it? Because it took me a long time to realize that if I kept going for, you can work on a creative video or whatever for ages, because you always find something wrong with it, and I just don't think it's healthy. So I'll probably say some people think it is, attainable, but I personally don't, because one, don't have the time. Two, I like my positive well-being, and three, I think it's impossible to get things perfect all the time, because you'll set yourself up to fail to an extent. And it's just, I just don't believe you can go at 100%. I think most people probably go at about 70%. I think that's healthy, because if you do 100%, then you probably, maybe a whole team can do 100%, but I think one person,
No.
yeah,
I think perfection is one of those things where, unless you start a project with a clear image of what your final product is going to be, you'll always be chasing a perfect image. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Like if you if you're painting like the Mona Lisa, for example, you know what the Mona Lisa looks like.
Yeah.
And when you try to paint it, you kind of see like in your head like where everything's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it, like you can try to attain that image of what that Mona Lisa is going to be. But when it's something really subjective, when you don't know what you're painting and you're just chasing for perfection there, that's an endless road, because you don't know what that final image is going to look like.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree with that, because when I do video briefs, there's a disclaimer I always have saying, subject to reality, because you don't know, like, for example, if you're going to be doing an interview with someone, you have no, because I'm not going to say I know anything about, the artistic world. I know from artistry from a video point of view, digital content point of view, and that angle. So, I don't want to poo on anybody, but it's kind of, for me, is when you have a video brief, you always try to do the best you can, but you don't aim for perfection, because you can't guarantee that. And I think you have to manage expectations, especially with clients, because even when you give them a storyboard, you're like, here it is, this is what's going to, unless it's an animation, there's no way you can get it exactly how it's supposed to be, because even when you do like feature films or short films or what have you, things always happen, and no one, I think, there's a statistic somewhere about comparing scripts, Hollywood scripts, to actually the final product, and it's just never the same, because things happen as you're filming. You're like, okay, we have to scratch that scene, or you lose time, time and actually go, is this really important to the movie? Chop it up and just chop it off, really.
It's always about budget and time restraints.
Yeah, which kind of it sucks sometimes, because you do want to be able to get, you always strive for perfection, but in reality, in the back of your mind, you kind of know it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because, well, actually, maybe that's just a personal thing again, but I know it doesn't exist, because I just think it's a way of making, how can I say this? Okay, I hope I don't offend anybody here, but I think it's a way of actually giving into your fear. Because perfection is one of those things, because I work with a life coach, and I've listed psychologists, and I've done a lot of stuff with business coaches. And after observing some of the top entrepreneurs in the country and just seeing the traits they have, it's fearlessness. And part of the reason is because they don't strive for perfection, because perfection is actually this mirage of things that you have that gives into your negative scripts. So if you say, okay, I want everything to be perfect, that's you kind of giving yourself a little buffer to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I can't do it because it's not perfect. Like, for example, I always say, oh, I want this vlog, I want, the perfect circumstances, because I'm a videographer. I'm like, I can't film it on my phone. So you always will put stuff in the way to stop you from doing things.
Yeah.
Is my perception of it. So I think that's one angle. But then if you look at the social media angle, sorry if I'm talking too much here,
No.
but social media angle is, because we're given this perfect view of life, there's a weird shift now that everybody wants that to be reality. but it's not. It's because it's staged.
Yeah.
So you actually ask yourself, is that what is real? What is
Yeah.
reality? So, and that's why with social media, it's a load of rubbish because you can paint your perfect life on social media because everybody, live my best life, hashtag entrepreneur, and you just, like, for example, I took a sign because I happened to be next door to the BBC Sounds office, and I was like, oh, and I literally just said, I was like, yeah, got a great meeting. And then people didn't actually read the rest of it. I said, next to this building. But then everyone was like, oh my God, you're at BBC. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm next door. But it's a cool sign. But it's just, and I think that's that level of Mirage and seeking perfection. I think social media also has a lot to answer for as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. But
Found a really nice quote. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Because,
well, yeah, I do.
Because if you keep on striving for perfection, you might not hit perfection, but you'll hit a higher note than you did last time.
Yeah, but also, I guess it's also progress in your skills, like progressing your skills. So if you always strive for, the best you can do, then you always get, you always learn, you always, attain that I guess some sort of image of perfection in your mind.
So when it comes to perfection, who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please yourself, or are you trying to please your clients, or are you trying to please something or someone?
A mix of everything, really, because I try to please myself because I'm the deliverer, because the copyright I own that copyright. So it's I get it to a point where I'm happy with it, so I can show the client. And if they're not happy with it, then I'll get it to a point where they will like it. But because I did the brief, I'll always in my mind have them in mind when I'm editing it. So it's you edit it to a point where, they will like it. So you're pleasing yourself because you don't want to keep going back and forth.
No.
So I think it's a mixture of you're trying to please yourself, but at the same time you want to please the client, but at the same time you don't want them to look bad or yourself to look bad.
No.
So I think there's always a happy medium.
So when it comes to clients, how many edits do you let them have?
Depending on the size of the job, most of it's two. You get 2 rounds, and one of them is like a proper thing. If they say, oh no, that's terrible, I want something else, that's fine. And the next round I always say, just make sure you got one more edit. So if I have to rehash it, I'm going to charge you for it. So it better be something like no, I don't say that obviously, but it's stuff like titles or things like that, because you have to, because I think, again, because if you don't manage expectations, you tell them it's going to be this, going to be that from the start, then the edit is where people really don't get the filmmaking process or don't understand, because they just think, oh, I want it.
They think once you have it, you can change it easily. Yeah,
but it's also a case of how they saw it in their mind might not be how it turned out. And I think that's a really important aspect to manage from the start, because everybody, because what I like to do a collaborative working with my clients, because I never like a client who just says, oh, you're the video person, you just do it. And I'm like, no, because you're already saying you get it to how I think you should get it, but you're not going to tell me how I want it to be. So they already line you up to fail. So I like to, make it's a collaborative process, because I'm trying to bring their vision to life by using my skills. And I think that's a big,
instead of them saying, read my mind.
And I think that's all about managing expectations, and because you've got to, because as an artist, even though digital artist or graphic designer or whatever, you have to be able to manage that. And I think when you're dealing with other people, you can't strive for perfection, because you might get it to, what, that's perfect, and then once you give it to them, they just go, that's poo. That's not how I wanted it. So you never really get that in the commercial world, really.
Quantity and quality. So this is something that while I was doing my art, I heard the story of a potter and his students. So he divided the class into two groups. One group was to make as many pots as they can as possible within the year, and the other group of students were to make one perfect pot. They had the whole year to do it. And the reason why this story is really significant is because after the year, the group that were focused on quantity, they made some really terrible pots at the start of the year. But as the teacher went along the shelves, he realised that the pots were getting better and better and better and better. And the ones that were focused on quality for the year, he realised that all the pots pretty much looked the same.
Yeah.
They looked nice, but they weren't like anything outstanding. They weren't perfect. Whereas the ones that were chasing for quantity were getting better and almost as good as the ones, probably better than ones that were striving for quality.
Okay, so that's kind of like the more you do stuff, the better you get. Okay.
And I think it's a significant thing for all creatives to work on their craft, on not chasing perfection, but keep on doing it until you get to that point where you are good at your craft, rather than doing that one big project that makes you think that, oh, this is the big project that will like make my name, kind of thing.
Oh, but that's two different things, though, because
Do you
that's
think?
because I think because it's obvious, because the more jobs you do, the more things you do, the more times you do something, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
But sometimes your quality won't be there. So, for example, I don't know, just editing. I know I'm a much better editor now than I was.
But is that because you've done that so many times that you think you've picked up a lot of tricks, skills, you see things that you didn't see before? Or was it because you did one big project and you kind of saw all the mistakes in that big project and then you just learned from that?
I would say it's the big projects, because the bigger the project I work on, the more I saw, the more opportunities for me to learn.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, because that's a tough one, isn't it? But it's kind of, but at the same time, the more you do something, the better you get. But I think I can think of like 3 defining projects in my life that I thought, oh wow, because one was like the launch of American Dad. I was just like, I had a press launch. I was doing all sorts, and then I literally forgot quite a lot of stuff, which I didn't think about. But then I was ready for the next launch, because, for example, I forgot to send out, some invitations which were really, really obvious to certain magazines, to get reviews, and I was like, oh, why didn't I didn't think of those ones, because I was going for the bigger pieces. But actually what I should have done was just done a blanket, rather than go through my list, just do a blanket thing, send it out, see who I got, rather than actually piecing together. But I think that was quite a big learning for me, because it was just such the biggest scope of a project I'd ever done. So when Breaking Bad came along, I was like, aha, I'm ready for you. But it was I think it's more the quality. The big project had the biggest impact and the more learning for me. So when I did do things more often, it was fine.
So it's the bigger learning curve.
Yeah. Because I think that's, and also the fearlessness, because I think fear is one of those things that eats up your mind. And the more scared you are of doing something, the more you should do it, because you will learn from it. You will actually push yourself to where you want to be. And I think that's where my issue with the word perfection comes in, because I think perfection can really stalemate you and hold you back from that, because it's just fear. So if you're scared of getting it perfect, just do it, because it most likely you'll learn, and next time you actually realize it's fine. And it's funny, I don't know if it's really, I don't know, sorry, we're recording, so I'm like, I want to talk to you guys, but because I don't know if you guys listen to Jay Shetty. If you don't, you should. And it was one of those things he said, the other day, which has got on my mind. In case of like when you're scared of doing something, you need to do. There's 4 processes you need to do, and the first thing you should do is research, because everybody always goes to the performance bit, because that's the bit they think, oh, I want to do a vlog, I'm just going to do it. But actually, what you should do is go do the research, because by doing the research, that will give you the confidence to actually do the performance, and therefore you do. And then there's actually, what do they call it? The progression. No, it's not progression, but basically the peacocking moment, where you actually taking the praise.
Yes.
Because by missing out on so many people don't do the research bit. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to do portrait painting, I would research everybody who's done portrait painting. But not only that, I would ask them, what was the best thing about that? Yeah. What did you enjoy about the process? And then that way, that kind of feeds in your learning. So I think that's a really interesting angle, and too many people don't. They go into the doing and the practicing. Yes, it's research, practice, do. So yeah, they don't. They go into the practicing moment thinking that's going to help them. Yeah. But actually, what you should do first is the research. Get your mind in that aspect and learn about what you're going to be doing, and then you practice doing it, and then you do it for real, and then you reap the benefits.
Do you find when it comes to that, overthinking becomes a element to it?
Yes, because again, overthinking, well, no, it doesn't, because there's a fine balance between overthinking and actually trying to immerse yourself in a situation. Like for example, I guess having a company was probably the biggest learning curve I've ever had, because I had a marketing PR background. That's great, but actually when you look at it as a company owner, it's not so great, because you have to do so many different jobs, but you have to do it reversed. Like I can go to like anybody's business and go, you need to go bang, bam, bam. But looking at my own business from that kind of mindset, because you have so many other things to look at, was a real interesting struggle for me. So I decided to actually learn more about marketing, and actually learn more about marketing from an entrepreneur's point of view. And I think that, and I thought, oh, am I overthinking? Everybody's like, you got a marketing background, you overthink. I was like, no, I'm not, because I need to understand the other side of it so I can actually propel forward. Yeah. So I think there is a fine line. And
I think the difference between like strategic planning and overthinking is the negative thoughts while you're strategic planning.
Well, that's the thing. What do you define as overthinking?
It's kind of like the thoughts that hold you back. The thoughts that are saying, I've done the research, but I still need to know a little bit more. And
the procrastination. Yeah. Okay.
That kind of those thoughts where it's like, I've done enough research. I know that I have, but I still don't feel ready yet. So I have to keep on looking at the research and keep on like analysing and over-analysing until I feel like I have to psych myself up for it, or I have to try and just break it out of it and just go for it, kind of thing.
That's difficult, because I think if you've done enough research, you get yourself to a point. Maybe I should rephrase that. Research with goals is the most important thing, because once you've reached a certain, then that will help you get to the next stage. Because there is a danger of overthinking it, but again, I think that's fear, and you can't give into fear.
No, that's true.
And that's that's the one thing I've learned is fear. Fear's good, but if you're scared of it, do it. Because I don't really like public talking, but I decided to do it because I know it's something I don't like. Yeah.
Talk about things we don't like, our own harshest critic.
Absolutely. The mind is a dangerous thing if you don't control it. And that's the one thing working with coaches I've learned. It's a really interesting thing how we're our own worst critic, because we have a reptilian brain. We tell ourselves things to reinforce our negative scripts. So if you say, for example, do you guys understand when I say negative scripts? Yeah, cool, good. So so if you say, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen, you're like, well, of course it happens, because if you don't, you think you're crazy, and that's the mind trying to reinforce to make you feel right, basically. And by the reptilian brain is something that is there to protect you. So And I think that's what the harsh critic is doing. It's going, oh, you're so stupid. Of course you are. Don't do that again. You didn't like that experience. Don't do that. And that's exactly what is. So you kind of, okay, I'm going to get personal. And I think it's basically you have to give your reptilian brain a name. Is one of the best things that anybody ever told me, was give your reptilian brain a name. So if you have that voice in your head that says how crap you are and how rubbish you are, oh, why did you say that? Give it a name. And mine is called Vespa. And I actually gave myself a picture, this funny looking lizard, and have that image in your head. And you kind of say, oh, Vespa's, it's like Vespa's talking. But that will break the cycle, because it's very, very easy to keep in that cycle. And that harshest critic, because it's there to protect you. So you can't really get rid of it, but you can manage it. And my life coach probably going to say, why didn't you just send them to me? But anyway, but kidding. But that's one of the things I've learned. Is like the critic there is it's just trying to protect you from harm. But whose harm is that? It's kind of anybody's thing. But yeah, we are our own worst critic, because we get in there because we think other people are going to say that, when actually half the time, like in any project, people just want to know if you like it. Yeah. And if you like it, then they like it. But if you start going, oh yeah, that wasn't great, and then they start seeing it, and then they actually do it again.
Yeah.
So that, I think, that's a really...
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because there's I do a lot of painting, and every time I show them one of the works that I think I failed at, people tend to say, oh no, I really like that. And it's only when I list the things that I think is wrong with it, that's when they see it, and that's when they go, oh, actually, yeah, I see what you're saying, and I don't like it as much now. And it's kind of, I should have kept my mouth shut.
But that, completely agree. And I think that's part of that is definitely to do with self-worth and the reptilian brain, because it's very tricky. It's the mind. It's an interesting, fascinating, wonderful thing. It's a muscle. And I really think things like mindfulness, meditation, positive affirmations, just literally quieten that side of you. Because if you keep saying, wonderful affirmations, then the horrible voice doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people definitely need to do more, is just do positive affirmations, because, in here we're so horrible to ourselves.
Yeah.
So
it's also being positive to yourself, and as well as the people around you.
Yeah.
And if you're not positive to yourself, then you can't really expect other people. Well, you can't expect people to be positive, even though they most probably will be. You don't expect it yourself.
Yeah, but then at the same time, if you put out feelings of, I don't expect you to be nice to me, then people won't be nice to you.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that is one of those things. We project how we see ourselves. We project how we want people to treat us. So if you're, I'm quite self-deprecating, because that's just part of my humor. But actually, in my head, I'm not. And I do that because I don't want to seem arrogant, and I don't know why. But it's one of those things that I'm trying to work on. When someone compliments me, I'm like, ugh, because we're not programmed to do that. But if you go to different societies, like, for example, I'm Nigerian. I think it's like my British side. If I go to one of my Nigerian relatives and go, you rocked, I'm like, I know, and just walk off. That's how. And I think there's just a difference in culture, I think, personally. But yeah.
So it's all part of the process, all this, striving for perfection, not getting to be perfect, but also getting your skill up and getting your mentality up. It's all part of the process of being a creative. It's not something that is a one-off. It happens no matter where you're doing a small project now, or a big project in the future, or another small project in the future. It's still there in your brain. It's never going to go away. So it's all about getting used to it, do you think?
Absolutely. No, but also, and it's just, I think the biggest lesson I've had in the past 2 years was working on my mindset. And that is, to me, is the key to life. If you work on your mindset, you can accomplish anything. but you need to let yourself accomplish that, is what I've learned, because you will always strive to be better. You will always strive to want to do more. But actually, are you setting yourself up to fail is the biggest question. And also, by having too much, if you look too much in the future, you get anxiety. If you look too much in the past, you get depression. So you kind of have to be
in the moment.
Yeah. And I think that to me is the biggest learning curve I've ever had, because I was very much goal focused. So I used to have, I'm like, what's next? So, but you don't actually let yourself enjoy things.
No.
And I think by perfection kind of adds to that.
Yeah.
Because it's a way of not letting you enjoy the now.
Yeah.
Because I can strive for perfection. I can go. I want every shot to be perfect. Why wasn't the shot perfect? But actually, I know I want to be nice to myself. So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned is actually, yeah, you can do that, but as long as you're happy with it, then in my eyes it's perfect because I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Do you find owning a company and being in the now is a really hard thing to do, because you're always trying to think of where I want to take this company, but I have to focus on the now?
Not really. It used to be, but not anymore, because now I have goal setting sessions with my mentor, and I'll sit there, and that's when I think about the future, and then I go, right, and then it's probably like a couple of days, and I go, okay, this is what I want to do. It's in my head. It's basically getting all the things in my head out of it, and just go, okay, that's my goal set. How do I get there? And then you kind of just break it up, and that makes it more achievable, rather than, I want all this stuff, but that's a really tough question. But it's kind of that's one of the hardest things. But I think being in the now as a business person, because they're always saying about what you're working with now. Actually, no, you know what? Scratch that. No, you can't be in the now as a business person, because you always have to think about your sales. Yeah, sorry, you can't. Yeah, you can't because maybe I don't know, other businesses, they have salespeople, but whatever projects you're working on now, you have to set time to think about the future. You just have to. So it's all about setting time, setting goals. And I know every morning I send out 5 sales emails for future business, because you have to, because whatever I'm working on now, I know it's going to end about a month's time. Then what? And that process has been nice. You just have to contain it.
See, for me, when I plan for the future, I always try to enjoy what I'm doing now as well. So whether it is just emailing 5 people, I try to make it enjoyable for myself, because it's not something that I would normally do if I wasn't doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it is just finding something enjoyable in the mundane things that you do. And that for me isn't striving for the perfect ideal, but it's the steps towards it.
Absolutely. It's, you know what? It's, again, I'm going to quote Jay Shetty, but it's part of the way to manifest what you want and manifest your dreams is actually loving what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And loving as you go ahead. Because if you want to manifest your dream job, there's no point going, oh, I want to quit this job because I hate it. Because if you have feelings of hate for what you're doing now, you're just going to take that to wherever you go.
Yeah.
So you have to love what so completely think that's a really enlightened way to think. It's just love what you're doing. It's all about love, guys. It really is.
And knowing when to stop. So earlier you mentioned the 70% and being able to stop once you hit that 70% mark. Do you want to elaborate more on that?
You know what? It's one of those. It's hard for me. No, it's when editing projects, I get it to a point where I followed the brief, because if you don't, and again, it's just, it's all about getting it to a point where the project can end, because you've got a deadline. And if you're up against that deadline and you want to keep tinkering, then you're not going to give yourself enough time to actually, to do anything. You're going to miss your deadline. So I think, getting it to 70%, which is actually most people's perfection, to be honest, that's pretty much the best you can do it, because otherwise you would just never move on.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, when you say no and when to stop, I think as a business owner, I find that hard because it is just me. And I find I have to, just keep. I think I have a big personal drive because that's who I am.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of my 70% might be other, not to blow my own trumpet, but might be someone else's 90% because I've perfected my art of just knowing exactly what the hell I'm doing, when the hell I'm doing it, because I have a daughter, so I haven't got time to mess around because she's my priority. So know when to stop. I find it hard.
Yeah, I find it hard. Like, but then there comes a point where when I'm when I'm writing and it is deadline, if I don't have a deadline, I can always get lost in my own mind for so long, and you're constantly editing, and you just don't know when to stop. And when you said to me about the 70% and being happy of that 70%, like, even though I know it's not perfect in my mind, I know that it's good enough for a lot of people to read, to understand. I think that's a really nice way to control yourself from doing too much.
Yeah, and it controls yourself from overthinking.
Yeah.
And just nitpicking, and it's about self-care.
Yeah.
Because I think like, for example, when I manage teams and on set and things like that, I'm probably like quite an easygoing director. I think. I don't know. Am I? No, I'm up to that. But it's kind of because I trust. I just kind of say, "Are you happy with it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Let's go." You just review it. And if the person who filmed it, or the person, if I'm working with, an editor, I'm like, are you happy with that edit? Does this match the brief? And that's about it. I think probably I use happiness in business a lot because I think that's a really key term, because a lot of business acronyms and business words and sense in life, as the soul's been sucked out of it, because people think you have to be strategic, you have to be this, you have to be that. I'm like, who says?
Yeah.
But actually, you have to be nice.
Yes.
You have to be conscientious. You have to serve, because that to me is the biggest thing. Like, everybody is the biggest lesson, actually. Again, Jay Shetty. But anyway, it's like, you got to think in anything you do. You got to think of how can I serve people, and I think that again is like, how can I? Yeah, it's a way of saying how can I be nice? What problem can I solve? What service can I do? Everything you do should have some sort of service, and that will come back on you, really. So yeah.
Seeing the beauty in imperfection.
There's a Japanese word for that. Hang on.
Is there?
Yeah, there is. There is. Oh, this is really. I want to look it up. Can I take my phone out and look?
Yeah, go for it.
It's basically there is because there is a Japanese saying and Japanese philosophy about the beauty of imperfection. Is it wasabi? No. It's something like wanabe or something, which is the beauty of imperfection, a way of letting go, a way of actually seeing life as it should be.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to look that up right now, because it's a really, really nice way of saying. I didn't know you were going to say it. I would come up with the whole thing, but it's really because it's stuff like for example, when you see a piece of crockery that's like, it's about taking the moment to actually observe and and just note the beauty of that imperfection.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole philosophy about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna because it's really important. But did you know about that?
No, I didn't.
In Chinese culture, is there?
No, what? I'm not Japanese. So.
No. I mean, like, in your culture though. But Chinese,
no, our culture is very much stuck on perfection and keeping up appearances and stuff like that. So, no.
Hang on.
But
wabi sabi.
Wabi sabi.
Yeah, the beauty of imperfection. Aha! All the things I read. No kidding. But to be honest, and I think it's about basically. This is all stuff I've read, and I think all these things, like in terms of imperfections, are the biggest learning. Like I've this past year is literally when all these concepts have come into, and since kind of like absorbing them and actually becoming that, and that becoming my philosophy, I found opportunities have like opened up, and I, you know, and even like gratitudes for imperfection,
Yeah.
gratitudes for, yeah, just for opportunities.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it is when you start absorbing different philosophies and different ways of looking at how to start a business, run a business, do something that you've never done before. It's when you open yourself to lots of different ideas, that's when lots of opportunities come knocking at your door, which I find really, really strange and coincidental, because it's not something that normally happens to me. It's kind of uh, like telling someone to go talk to someone.
Yeah.
And there's so many things in your head that will go wrong if you talk to this person. You don't think you're worthy enough. You might say something wrong and offend them. You might do yada yada yada. And when you actually go and do it, the thing that you least expect will happen, which is them being welcoming and friendly and enjoying your company.
Exactly. But there's, sorry, Karen.
No,
I was gonna, there's also, just to add to that, there's the art of visualization.
yeah.
Like whenever if you ever want to do something, or if you've got a big meeting coming up, you visualize how you think it's going to go.
Yeah.
And, well, basically the best case scenario. And I think that another thing that has actually helped for situations, if you visualize, you know, saying all the best things, you say people laugh at your jokes, people, you know, welcome you into the room, and actually, and that will, the good feelings that you get from that visualization, that will wash over you, but then, and that will make the situation better. But I find if you go in there with like negative emotion, that's when negativity happens to you.
Yeah.
You know, because we all manifest our own lives, you know, and, you know, there's no doubt about it. If someone says, you know, oh, bad luck, so bad luck always happens to me, well, of course it does, because you always say it.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's a little bit harsh, but I think there's a
No,
lot
it's
of,
when like someone like gets in late to work all the time, and they're like, oh, it's typical traffic or whatever.
yeah,
And that's because they think it's typical, but it's not, because it's, if they left like 10 minutes earlier, they would have beat the traffic. It's kind of that mentality of if you just switch that little switch in your brain saying, if I just do something different, there will be a different outcome.
yeah,
And it just takes a lot to get that switch.
absolutely. And it's a constant thing that you have to work on, because like I said, the mind is tricky.
Yeah.
And it will, the reptilian brain,
Yeah.
I love that phrase, it will always try and just make you safe, and then whatever, it's, you know, it's your protective mechanism, and sometimes it just doesn't serve you. Because, well, as well as it does, but if it says don't go into that room because you get killed, listen to it. But sorry, I shouldn't. But it's kind of that's the sort of thing. Actually, maybe you will, maybe you won't, but it's kind of a thing. But it's the same brain that protects you when you're walking down a dark alley and you have footsteps running behind you. It kind of says there's someone behind you, maybe you should walk faster.
Yeah.
That's when you listen to it. But when it's like when you're in a safe environment,
Yeah.
it's just all it wants to do is keep you safe. But
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to say, shush, Vespa, I'm all right. But
That's
yeah, no, because it does. You have to
yeah.
give it a silly name, because
Yeah.
it will help. Because, you know,
no,
it does help. It's just kind of you know, because it always lists all the things you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this. But if you just kind of say, okay, thanks, Vespa, you're like, thanks, and then you go, oh, okay, and then it just, you'll find, you know, just try it, give it a name, and when you find yourself just going just go thanks, and then you find it stops.
Okay.
It's just, it's weird. You just go, oh yeah, thanks, Vespa,
Alright.
great. Don't call it Vespa, it's mine. Okay, but it's kind of, it's yeah.
Any questions? No.
Anything? Do you have a question? You're sitting there. You're looking a bit unhappy. Cool. Was that your concentration face?
That's my listening phase.
Oh, okay.
No.
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 What you were saying about Japanese art, I couldn't think of the name of it, but I'm aware of the broken piece.
Oh, that's kintsugi.
There you go.
That's where it's a broken like a broken bowl.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you fix it with gold.
Yes, and then yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I did an art thing.
Sorry, I got
with
really excited.
Performance artists, where we both fixed
Yeah.
this pot with gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
That-
dust and stuff and glue, and it was very silent, totally silent.
Mhm.
We were just sitting for 20 minutes making this thing back into a cup.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, when I learnt about Wabi Sabi, that is the exact thing they use, and you saw. Yeah, that's brilliant. You did it. That's
The
awesome.
beauty of imperfection, breaking something entirely so that you can never use it again, and then making that into an artwork or making it into a
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
upcycling it, energizing it, and
Yeah.
working it.
Making junk out, making artwork from junk, or
I
make.
call my art is rubbish. So make it out.
Yeah.
Make lots of-
But I'm curious, do you, because from an artistic, because I think you guys are like the true artists. I'm always like, am I an artist? I don't know, but do you strive for perfection when you're doing your art, or do you just go to actually I just want it to flow?
This is why
Yeah.
I'm here, because I was thinking, I absolutely hate the word perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate the use of it. I hate the way it's become perfect instead from perfect.
Yeah.
I don't like the perfection that it seems to be a sort of Americanized.
Mhm.
When you were talking about the like CGI perfection and how people are really trying to have their own CGI perfection,
Mhm.
and you see all these pumped lips and perfect cheekbones,
It's-
they've just got themselves on a cycle to hell.
Yeah.
Because they just look so completely plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, the beauty is the imperfections of stuff, and it's just like loving a scar, really.
Mhm. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And
so
it's more
yeah.
interesting. You want when you see a scar, you want to know how the
Yeah, the story.
Exactly. My mum
Exactly.
said, "You'll end up with the face you deserve." I love that.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with beauty.
Yeah.
It's just all to do with who you are. Will come out of your face.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
and you have more stories to tell when you have something. Yeah.
It's funny you say there's a friend of mine who I'm not going to say her name, but she's like she always posts like selfies on Instagram, and if you see her on Instagram, you're like she's not saying she's tall, she's slender, she's like beautiful, but then when you meet her in real life, and not saying she's ugly or anything, it's just the difference because she kind of takes it from up, so you can actually make your face a lot slender,
Yeah.
and when you meet you're like. But it's terrible because no, but that's the thing. She's I think she's younger than me. She's like 28 or something. I'm like, and then she always complains about. She goes, oh, I don't, I go on dates, they meet me, and then then something happens. I was like, you think? And part of me is just like, because you're a lot. And I said, why don't you just show them a true picture? Because I do. I take selfies. Like, no, you take it from a high angle, so people are slightly far away, so you look thinner. So maybe there's that angle, and I'm saying I'm not saying she's not beautiful because she is, but there is that. I think when people meet her, they just go, "Hang on."
I feel lied to.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a massive thing because even
Yeah.
my cousin does it, and I'm like, I see it. I'm like,
the story that we're being told, though.
Yeah.
It's a story we're being told,
Exactly.
usually by men about how a woman should look, and this is what we're expecting of you.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, no, agreed, and it's just
It's
it's
not
really.
always the case, but it's generally.
It's just and then when you hear stories about young people who have like depression and anxiety because and they constantly post stuff, I'm like, just stop posting. It's just I don't know, I think there's something interesting about social media and the perfection, striving for perfection and a perfect life and the portraying of the perfect life.
Feeds into
Yeah.
insecurity.
Absolutely.
Feeds insecurity.
Yeah.
Feeds it.
Yeah.
Every customer every client I've ever had who was looking for perfection,
Mm.
I've either talked them around from that, said, we can't have it, you can't have it, don't worry about it, or I've had to just say, I've got to let you
Yeah.
know, because
That's
they've
it.
got me completely insane at home.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. No, I need to because I think that's what I don't do enough. Is just to
Well, we do
let
it
them
all
go.
the time, so.
Yeah. Well, no, because I always try and make people happy. I'm like, okay, let's try and meet in the middle. But actually, sometimes I think I've only
Yeah.
ever done that a couple of times. And I'm like, yeah, no. But it's because I didn't listen to my. Actually, yeah.
The gut instinct.
Exactly.
Not
When
a
I
head,
don't listen.
it's a
Exactly.
gut instinct. Well, I suppose it is a head.
No, it's true. That's when I
Whenever
don't
I've
listen.
said no to my gut instinct,
Yeah.
I've
Exactly.
It's come back and
Absolutely.
every time.
Yeah.
Every time I would say.
Exactly. And that's
So
when
now
you
I absolutely listen to it.
absolutely. That's that's my biggest.
It's one of those things that you have to gather when you're older, and you
Mhm.
can't. You can try and find them when you're younger, but it actually comes
Yeah.
to you.
Do you find? I'm just asking people questions now.
No,
I'm like, but do you find us in like society? I feel like we're kind of told we have massive instincts when we're kids, up until maybe about 7, 10, and then suddenly we're told to just not listen to those.
Yeah.
And then it's only when we get back to our late 20s, or when basically some life happens, but you kind of get it back, and then you think to yourself,
I think when we're
'cause,
growing
'cause
up,
my daughter, and I'm like, I see her instincts, I'm like, anybody she doesn't trust, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you're going on your instinct, and I respect that, and I just see that's how she, yeah,
yeah, so we kind of get taught that we should learn common sense before we trust our own gut instincts, and that's kind of what it is. It's when we grow up, like we should listen to the advice that we're given first,
Yeah.
and then maybe learn to ignore it as we grow up. But, so don't ignore. Yeah, what we're trying to do isn't to. Yeah, it's basically it's telling you to ignore what you're feeling, so that you can listen to your head more than your gut, and yeah, like once we hit that age where we decide, no, our head is like clouding our judgments. We need to listen to the gut again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I kind of really did recently. I know, but I feel it's been like I've actually been so much more happier since listening to my gut, because I'm very intuitive and I'm very, also I've been told anyway.
Yeah.
But it's kind of there's that instinct which I think it's really interesting when you look at children, and I noticed that and I kind of thought what happened, but just when you're younger you're like that's what guides you, because you need to survive, you need to do it, you need to just get there, but actually as an adult you so need it as well.
Yeah.
Like, you need your instinct so much,
It
but
really
we're
depends
told
on-
not to listen to it.
It really depends on the personality type you are as well, because there are people who are naturally intuitive, but then there are those who are more reserved and more like they want to observe and like analyze everything before they make a judgment.
But then do you think that's but that I think might be their natural instincts to actually just observe,
Yeah.
because sometimes you just get it when you walk in a room, but sometimes you just observe. Like
Yeah.
when I'm at a party, you probably wouldn't recognize me because I kind of sit in the corner and I don't really say much, and because I just observe to go who's to just know how to navigate the party, because I find large spaces kind of a bit of an assault to my senses, and I'm just like, oh. So I'll stand in the corner. It's always like, where's Remi? She's in the corner just going, what's going on? Maybe I'll be asleep sometimes, but yeah.
How about yourself? What kind of are you striving for perfection or anything in your work, or how do you handle?
I think I do strive for perfection. I think if I don't achieve it, I get really frustrated, and I don't mind. I think I'd rather make something that I thought was perfect than make something that everyone else thought was fine. You know what I mean? So as long as I'm happy with it.
That is a good mindset to have, to be like I said at the start. Who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please other people, or are you trying to please yourself? If you're trying to please yourself, that's the easiest thing to be able to let go of, because once you know that you're just pleasing yourself, you don't have to care what other people think about your work. You might do, but like the most important person that you're trying to please is yourself. And once you do the work where you're happy with it, you can let it go. And that's something that a lot of creatives struggle with, I think, and that's
I
something.
got it beaten out of me at Suffolk College.
Oh, really?
That's actually a pretty apt little thing to be on the screen. Don't be so precious.
Yeah, don't be so precious.
From A level to doing art foundation, and then as soon as the art foundation kicked in, they were like, draw some, like do this still life, do it with a blindfold and a pen on a meat stick.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So you just-
That's like Karate
just
Kid.
scribble on paper.
It's like Karate Kid drawings. I do this, but stand on one leg. But that's amazing. Wow.
But like coming from A level where everything had to be like
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's interesting.
studying Monet, do something like Monet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. But polar opposites at college.
That's really good.
Any more questions before I wrap it up?
I was going to say something. So what do you do now?
Me?
Yeah, you're not.
Well, I was working in TV for the last 3 years.
Cool.
I was living down in Bristol.
Mhm.
My whole life story. I've come back. I bought a house in Ipswich. I just had the opportunity to buy it. So
Nice. Why not?
I thought that's a good, sensible, grown-up thing to do. And I haven't worked since. So
Oh.
and that was December last year.
Okay.
Okay.
So long-term unemployed, I think.
What do you do in the TV? What do you do in TV world?
I was a researcher, a broadcast researcher.
Okay.
For, like, BBC, Channel 4.
Mm.
Have you signed up to Screen Suffolk? Because I saw someone's looking for a researcher the other day.
I've been. They had a meetup a little while ago.
Oh no, not
No.
Film Suffolk, Screen Suffolk, which
Screen
is like
Suffolk
the film.
is the it's the local one-stop
film,
shop for
yeah.
all filming in Ipswich.
Yeah, it's basically the film
Oh,
office.
in Suffolk.
And any production externally that comes there goes to there. And I know someone was looking for a researcher for a documentary
Sure.
film, but definitely, yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly, because
Yeah.
that's why I said researcher.
And,
But it's, yeah.
and feel free to come to the Ipswich Creatives meetup. The next one is next Wednesday. Because that's a really good way to make contacts and find like collaborations and.
Where is
The, it's at the Briarbank at 6 p.m.
Brewery.
At Briarbank Brewery.
Yeah, behind Isaac.
Yeah.
Yes. And that
Word excellence is a great one. Striving for excellence.
yes.
That's
Hmm.
Yeah.
The funny
So-
thing is, at the same time, I've said all that for that shoot. You know what? I think there's always a moment, though. I don't know if anybody, when someone sees your work publicly, because between me, I'm great. Between the client, I'm like great, and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm just putting it out everywhere." You're like, ugh. And then I think that's always a really interesting angle, which I don't know if everybody gets it, but there's just that moment of, holy cow, and I think you realise like, wait, is it good enough? Is it? I don't know, but but I think there's always that interesting when it goes out into the public arena.
Mm.
I think as creatives, we just
That's
the
maybe
little
more egotistical than other things.
yeah.
I love it.
It's just see that's cool because I just go and then that's when I start going, oh my god.
That happened to me early on, so I suppose it makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just I've done so much stuff
Yeah.
that even I don't know what it is. I just every single time I just go, "Ugh, okay, thanks. But I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But it's just that I don't know. It's just that
Well,
moment.
if it's good enough for you.
Yeah. And that's literally I love that. Yeah, it's good enough. Anyway, sorry, wrap it up.
No, but yeah. So that's all we got time for, I think. But, no,
No, it's
but
good.
thank you for listening to us ramble on about perfection.
It's a very interesting. Is
Um,
there anything? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much.
Cool.
And thank you, Remi.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.